Hi, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for your patience. If you were listening to the next or the previous video, it cut off. I had to cut off quickly. And so this is just kind of a continuation from where I left off. And I was speaking about, how I was fortunate while I was in Miami during the time I arrived, although I had a little money. It was during the winter season, which is off season for places like that, on like South Beach, and I um, I was fortunate enough to find like affordable hotels and Airbnb options, and I decided to stay in this one hotel that I was familiar with. Called the Generator, located on North Collins Avenue, and the rooms were very nice. But they featured like this communal space type of situation. Most of the time, I found myself, in the shared room by myself, alone. But occasionally there would be one or two people that will occupy one of the other beds in the four bunk setup. So, and each bed rented, I don't know. I know mines were renting for like $22 at the time. There were times when I got the bed for like $19 and I think 49 cents or 97 cents, something like that. And during like Monday through, or was it Sunday through Wednesday, or Monday through Wednesday and Thursday through Sunday, the prices would increase to like 40 something dollars a night because people would travel in on the weekends to hang out on the beaches. And but it was a pretty cool setup. I forget what you call those type of places. I can't think of it right now. Communal space type of hotels. Usually, it had a pool area, restaurant, pool tables, a little theater area, and co-working spaces. They even had a laundry, but I like to go to a bigger setup. So, um, and it was a pretty cool place for like short stays. Most of the guests were international travelers, and they also had the lockers attached to each bed, like at the bottom of the bed. But I mostly kept my things in my car, and I rented like a little locker at a local um, storage unit, cube storage or something like that on the beach. It was pretty nice and brand new. So while it worked out for a while, my money was still running low. I only came with a little over $3,000. I couldn't even land a job. Like nothing still would come through. But I didn't know then that those were those spirits operating in my life. This was the setup from these witches to block, every opportunity for housing, for you know, um, financial jobs, anything, even blocking relationships, friendships, work, obviously, relationships, any romantic. I just was a loner, and so um, I was even applying to, I got so desperate. There was a like Publix nearby that I would frequent, and they were hiring, and I couldn't even get that job. So you knew something wasn't right, And so I I just felt uneasy. I wasn't happy. I couldn't even enjoy myself and like being right there on the beach, and enjoying the nice weather. Although it, was winter season, it did drop in the nighttime, but only to like 50, 55 or something like that. And in the daytime, it would still shoot up to like the 80s and, really good weather. So, but because now I'm in survival mode. I couldn't get into that whole mode of like trying to take my mind off of things and just enjoy the moment. And I wasn't expecting to impose on any of the people that I knew there. I wanted to keep this private. If the Lord didn't make me um, deliver these messages or share these, my testimony, my, story, I wouldn't even done that. Nobody knows what I really been through. Only my son and those who were kind of close to me. I didn't keep in touch. Like the devil just destroyed all my relationships. To this day, I have not even spoken to my family. It's been 5 years now. And yeah, it's so, when God is ready, if there are, anyone from my past or from those seasons are supposed to be there, um, then God will bring them back. He removed them for a reason. And that's what happens. Sometimes we're afraid to let people go, let things go, let situations go. And you be delaying your progress. You be delaying your blessing, delaying, getting on the path of your purpose and your destiny. And so, and for me, that never was the case. I've been curious about the world since I was a kid because of my upbringing and like coming from a dysfunctional and toxic family situation or dynamic. And so I was, on my own at a very young age, and I've been all over the place. I've traveled all over the world. And so, a month had passed, a month and a half had, no, it's more than a month, it's about 2 months. And I was forced, during this time to eat pretty much unhealthy options because I didn't have a microwave in the room, or not even a small refrigerator wasn't set up like that. The restaurant was to get to people because you're not paying a lot for these, um, these type of rooms. I forget what you call these rooms, but um, they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I was trying to hang on to what money that I had. I didn't know, what I was going to do. And then, like, I hadn't been in Florida. Like, I lived in Florida back in the day, like the late 80s, early 90s. The rent was different back then. So I got there, and it's just as expensive as New York. Like, Atlanta is a little less, expensive with, lots of luxury. But the luxury that you pay for in Atlanta is affordable compared to New York. That's going to be double or triple what the rent is, and it may be even smaller. And so that's how I lived my life for the past 30 years in an overpriced city. So, but yeah, so I found myself eating cheap, and to eat cheap, it's going to be unhealthy. So at this time, I was in desperation. I was, still waiting for something to come through, not realizing these spirits, that I hadn't canceled, and they were manifesting in my life all this negative stuff. The blockage on my finances, the blockage in my relationships, in all areas of my life. Nothing, everything was just falling apart, even worse. So. Um, I one day decided to go wash my things, at I was just parked um, in this, I forget what part of the beach I was on. I wasn't on Collins, but they had a laundry over there. And I decided some of the things in my car needed to be washed. And I was chatting with, I don't know if it was the owner or the manager at the time. I can't really remember, but we were talking about New York. And when he first came to the country, he lived in New York, and he moved to, most of his people were in um, the Florida, Miami area. And anyway, he was looking for somebody, had a position. And like, I wasn't too proud at that time. Just any little money was coming in, I would have been happy for it because I was spending out, and everybody knows 3,000. That's nothing. That's rent, and then and your groceries, and It's maybe a light bill. That's it. You're dead. There's no more money left. So, um, so he ended up hiring me. So I'm like happy because I'm like, I got something to look forward to. It's not much, but at least I have this until I find something else. And now I'm building a little, like, I have a job just in case I got to try to find a place. I have a job history, because people want to know how you're going to pay the rent. So um I was told to, like, be there, in the next 2 days, and I got a text like the day before, and I was happy. So I arrived to this place, the 24-hour laundry, then the next 2 days, only to be told that there had been a change in that those circumstances, and they no longer needed help. Oh my God, it's like somebody punched me in my chest and just like ripped out my heart. I was in awe. I couldn't even, I don't remember even responding. I just didn't want to humiliate myself by like just pouring out, in tears in front of anyone. So I went to my car really fast. I don't even know how I got there. I just remember sitting in the car. I don't even realize, like remember walking because I felt so lightheaded. I was just so disappointed and so sad, but I sat in that car and I cried like nobody's business until I was, out of breath. And I, my eyes were puffy and my heart was very heavy. I just didn't understand why I was deserving of so much of an insidious attack on my life, on my finances, on my family, my relationships, and my overall well-being. And so nothing I had done in my life warranted this type of behavior towards me. And it's just evil, to destroy somebody's life, somebody you didn't even know, and no one, hadn't even done anything to you. In fact, I helped her by, like, during that time, I was on vacation. I had a 2 weeks vacation, and her kids were sitting outside during the summertime. It's hot. They were hungry, and I allowed them to come and I fed them. And boy, you gotta watch, who you help, and you just, it just. I just didn't understand this, why anyone would want to hurt me in this way. I had never wronged anyone or hurt anyone in my life. Um, and, um, and the only thing I was guilty of was being nice and maybe a little too nice because, I didn't set a lot of boundaries back then, it's just my nature, and I had been, I realized, an easy target because people like, witches and warlocks and just evil people all around, they seek out people pleasers, people who don't say no. And, they are easy victims. And I'm one of those victims who, and they don't have any regard for others, and so yeah, I didn't value myself enough to vet people out thoroughly. And like, this has been a problem before, but not at this level, And so, yeah, I had this lady in my home once or twice and, allowed her children to come. And if she's doing things, her kids are curses too, So, but and I remember she even gave me a slice of birthday cake, which I ate, unaware that she was a witch at this time and could have done like some sort of enchantments over the food or evil prayer over it. Because shortly after I ate that cake, that's when I started having these weird, you know, uh, distorted dreams, and the first one I had, come to think of it, was someone was trying to feed me in the dream. So, and that is a terrible sign of, witchcraft is, and actively operating in your life. So, yeah, we have to vet people before opening up to them and establish some sort of boundaries, because people, they are very deceitful and wicked. And in this time right now, just the world, just people are evil. We going through a lot economically, and it's causing people to do anything, to anyone for, to get ahead. And so, yeah, I want to thank you for listening. And I'll be back with my part 18, and I'll be talking about how I actually lost my car. And I was in just like, just things just started happening. I didn't understand why it was happening, like how it could happen. And like, I'm literally in this state, like homeless to the point. Like, when I say they had these spirits operating against me, I couldn't even get into a shelter. That's how bad it was, Just think about that, And so it got horrible. But after some time of being like that, and it was a short time, but I was back, on the next thing, smoking to back up north. I was just so embarrassed of my circumstances and my situation. I wouldn't let nobody know, not even my son, because he seemed to be, he didn't understand it. He's young, and he just thought it was something that I was doing wrong. He didn't until they started to target him. So I'm gonna get to that as well. They targeted my son, destroyed his life, had him going to jail, and just all kind of craziness. There's things that were out of the norm, just not typical behavior, and just people are just wicked. So this is another part, but in conclusion, I thank you again, and I pray that, God continue to bless you and your loved ones. And I hope everyone out there who's, out and about tonight enjoying yourself, or you already been out and, you're home safe and you're doing well. Okay. Until the next time, I thank you for listening. Bye bye.